So long as like alchemy.
All right, here we go. This is the first real official NBA alchemy of the season. Maybe I'll start the count over. I haven't decided yet, but we got, we've had 2 nights of basketball. I know some of you were checking like, yo, Alk, where's your Warriors breakdown? Well, if you don't know, this is the new format of the show on YouTube. If you want my Warriors breakdown, you can always find it the next day on my Patreon. They're usually 12 to 15 minutes long, breaking down the entire game, my entire take on it. Much more in depth than you've seen on my YouTube channel, so check that out. But if you want to, just keep checking these out, I encourage you to, because you're going to still get the breakdowns. It's just going to come, not right after the game, and you're going to get more coverage around the NBA. So if you haven't already, subscribe, hit the notification bell, because
if you know, you know.
You feel me? Right? You got to know. I promise you, this channel, if you're new to just checking this out, you're going to get takes and details that you don't get anywhere else. I'm talking ESPN, Fox Sports, anywhere on YouTube with these young kids talking about, did you see the dunk? No, man, I'm talking a little different than that. So strap in, subscribe, notification, all that, and get ready for these NBA alchemies. There are going to be several a week. So the first thing that I want to talk about was the Tuesday night opening night, right? First off, Kyrie with the feather. Y'all already know how I feel about this guy, man. Y'all already know how I feel about this guy. So to me, it's like he's thirsty for attention. It's thirst. I get it. He's like 1/20th Native American. Okay, right? But it's just thirst. And what did I forewarn you about with the Celtics team? Scary Terry taking some of his minutes, and Kyrie started 0 of 8 from the field. I tweeted out, I was like, yo, Danny's already on the phone, working Kyrie deals, man. But Boston looks good. The depth, Tatum looks really good year 2. I want to talk a little more about Philadelphia, because I think there's more variables and more unknowns with the Sixers team. Now, I talk about Kyrie coming in with the feather. You see Joel, tweeting out this or Instagramming, whatever, this photo of him with the laptop up of game footage, but he's watching Rick and Morty on his phone. He's like sneaking it, or he seems very proud of it. The caption read something like, oh, you gotta love Joel. You gotta love Embiid. How can you not love Embiid? Well, I'll keep it a buck with y'all, man. If I'm a Sixers fan or an Embiid fan, I'm not pleased with that, man. I don't like it, because you watch him in the game, and it's very clear he doesn't see the floor well. And you say, what do you mean? He's 7'2"? No, but he doesn't anticipate passing lanes, and he doesn't anticipate the movements on the court well. And part of that is because he's still a basketball baby, right? I was talking to my daughter. I was like, yo, Tatum has probably played in a basketball tournament every weekend of his life since he was 10 years old, right? That's not the case for Joel. Joel picked it up later, right? The Cameroonian. So he doesn't have all the hours of experience of just playing pickup ball on playgrounds and in AAU tournaments that some of these younger players have, right? And so to me, you've got to study the tape, bro, because clearly Joel is a prodigy. But the problem is with prodigies they tend not to work and grind, because it just came natural. It's so easy for Joel to ball out. And in one-on-one situations, you see all the physical talent. But he doesn't pass out of double teams. He's just part of it's stubborn, and part of it is his lack of anticipation. He makes terrible passes. He had 4 or 5 turnovers in the first half of this game. And I'm not saying Joel's not a star and all these things. I'm just saying I think he's a bit overrated as far as his basketball IQ. You hear everything that he has shown, he picks up immediately, but it doesn't seem like he works because he doesn't see the floor very well. Now, Ben Simmons, man, if he can hit free throws, he's going to give you 20 a night. And I think that the national narrative of this team and these 2 stars is kind of backwards. I think Ben is the more rare and special talent, and I think his ceiling is higher. I really do. I mean, when I watch him, he just does things that I haven't really seen before, in my years of watching basketball. He's just special. He's got to make his free throws, right? But you see how he rides people all the way to the rim and uses his size. And he's like he's like the opposite of Joel. I don't know how much more basketball he's played than Joel, but he just anticipates everything. Now, the one thing I'll critique about his jumper is you saw him dribble to the left short elbow below the free throw line and pull a little fadeaway. I think he was 0 of 4 from him. If he wants to shoot in his left hand, which is well publicized, which hand is it, bro? If he wants to shoot the jumper in the left hand, then, optimally, he would want to shoot that from the right side. Right-handed shooters like to shoot moving towards their left. Left-handed shooters towards their right. So it's kind of telling that he feels comfortable going to his left, but then he pulls up with his left. But if he wants to shoot it with the left, he may want to go right to pull up and shoot that little fadeaway. That's my little note. Now, Markelle Fultz seems like the only thing he's comfortable doing is shooting that little pull-up below the free throw line jumper. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm excited for him, and I think he's going to break through. It didn't look great for him. Right? Philly, their depth could be suspect if he doesn't pull through and actually become a usable player, man. It's remained to be seen. It's game one. These are my takes, right? Did y'all see the savage tweet? Shout out my guy that showed me this tweet about Kyrie left LeBron to play number 2 to a dude that can't even buy a beer yet. Right? A savage tweet right there. But I'm telling you, watch the ego dynamic in Boston. There's a lot of hungry players on that team, and Scary Terry played better than Kyrie in that first game, as I'd probably mentioned. Now, I didn't watch this game, but did you see Detroit in their opener? And I know their stadium's relatively new, right? It looked like a JV high school game in there. In the first half of the game, it looked like they pulled maybe 2,500 to the arena. Damn, how things have changed for Blake Griffin. And then, of course, the block on Blake. And I'm slipping now because I'm not even is it Jared Allen? I'm not familiar with the big in Brooklyn. I'm not going to act like I've seen a lot of Brooklyn, but maybe I got to see it. I know they play hard. Jared Allen, that was a gutsy block on Blake, a highlight from there. I'm not going to front like I saw that game, but I felt like that was the highlight, that one of the main highlights we've seen in the first 48 hours of the league. So I had to touch on that a little bit. Now I'm going to get to the Warriors, y'all. I'm going to get to my shits. Hold on. Warriors, OKC. Ring night. Again, I have an extensive breakdown. I feel like, that I'm not going to cover as much here, but I'll give you my main takeaways from the game. One, obviously we saw KD being introduced for the ring ceremony last. And that's going to be the thing all season long, is catering to Durant. Will he leave and all that narrative. But to the game, obviously no Russell Westbrook. Damian Jones getting the start. And I'm not telling you guys that watch the game something you don't already know. Damian Jones was impressive. He's going up against one of, if not the most physical center in the game, and Steven Adams, who was questionable, I think, lower back problems, and he held his own. He was physical, and the one thing that you have to look at when you look at the numbers with Damian Jones is I think he played 27 minutes, which was very surprising. Bell only 6 minutes in the game, but Damian Jones, he doesn't chase rebounds. He goes and finds a body. So he's very good at boxing out and finding his guy and boxing out, but he may not get the credit for the rebound, but he plays his part on the glass. And then obviously the lob and some pocket bounce passes. And so Jones looked good, man. He looked good. But here was the real story of the game to me. You could make the argument that the second best Warrior after Steph Curry in this game was Kevon Looney. 18 minutes, the double-double, 10 points, 10 rebounds. I think he had 2 assists, 2 blocks, and crucial plays down the stretch, 8 offensive rebounds. You can tell he's getting off the floor like he never has before. You saw him at Rico Hines all summer, right? And he's lean and in shape, and he's never going to be a bouncy athlete, but his timing, anticipation, right? And he was just super effective defensively and on the glass, and really closed the game for the Warriors with that lineup. Draymond looking gimpish, man. What do you have? 6 turnovers. And OKC forced Golden State into a ton of turnovers, and that's how OKC is going to have to play, right? Because boy, does Presti like athletes who can't shoot the ball. I mean, he has like an infatuation with wing athletes who don't really have a jump shot. They're more of athletes than basketball players, and they got a grip of them. Right? But they don't. If you slow things down in the half court, I think OKC really will struggle. But they have to use that athleticism on the defensive end, create turnovers, and get out and run. We'll see how effective they are. Nerlens Noel, Diallo, these young athletes to go along with Russ and Paul George. And Paul George started the game like 1 of 8, right? And then he caught fire. And you could tell the Warriors, I felt like there was a real lack of respect for the opponent. And Russ being there on ring night, that was funny. Shout out to TNT for, keeping the camera on him and his Boys to Men outfit. But, I think that there was a lack of respect, especially with Russ not playing from Golden State. They kind of were coasting. And then before they knew it, all of a sudden they found themselves in a game late in the game. The one thing that I want to point out was there was a lot of hero basketball being played between Steph and KD. And I think I want to credit the Thunder. I think the Thunder's length and athleticism on defense kind of forced them to do a bit of that, right? But it was a little alarming. And then Klay obviously struggled. What was he, 5 of 20 from the field? And you saw Klay trying to expand off the dribble. He had a step back, right, and a couple drives to the basket, but it was a little un-Klay-like how much he forced it, and it got me to thinking like, dang, wouldn't it be ironic if Klay was the one that actually, in his contract year, was the one that kind of became selfish and about his. Now, this is one game. I'm not trying to overreact or anything like that. I'm just saying Klay was a little forceful in his chuckage on opening night, right? And it's just something to monitor. But I want to credit the Thunder's length and defense for kind of forcing them into hero ball. I guess the last thing I'll note about this Warrior game was, I don't know about this rotation because you saw, now Iguodala went out with a strained calf. It's like, dang, man, already, bro, already. I didn't spot when it happened, but it happened, I guess. And in comes Alfonso McKinney, the two-way player for, 2 minutes to end the half. And it was just like, all right, so Evans isn't even ahead of McKinney on the depth charts. Jacob Evans, our rookie, our draft pick, our first round pick. So that was a little bit disturbing to see that he's like last on the depth charts. And then Jerebko came in late and gave us some solid minutes in the fourth. I don't think that was planned. I think it was because Iguodala was out and Draymond wasn't himself. And that could also play into the part of the Warrior 3 scorers kind of playing hero ball. They didn't have Draymond at full capacity or Iguodala in the second half to initiate the offense and keep the ball movement, right? But overall, they got it done. Now, you've got Utah Friday night and Denver over the weekend. That's going to be trying because Kerr blamed it on getting in shape. He said the team's not in shape. Well, you better be in shape going to Denver, right? In Utah, Quinn Snyder has these boys prepared to take another step this year, so that's going to be fun. Let me see here. Your boy's talking quick, huh? Because I want to keep this under 20 minutes, but I got a lot to say. Man, so obviously I think the story from last night was the Rockets getting thumped in their home opener against Anthony Davis, right, in the Pelicans. First thing I want to say is when I turned the game on, I thought Drew Holiday and Solomon Hill had on old-ass do-rags. I mean, right, they had like the tie with the braids, and maybe my TV contrast isn't that good. I was like, these niggas got do-rags on? I know the NBA's trying to let them, style up with the shoes, but do-rags? Come on, man. But I was tripping. But the thing that I took away from it, one, was Houston looked old as fuck, right? And you looked at, it was like, at one point it was Tucker, Melo, and CP3 on the floor. I don't think Harden was on the floor, and they just looked old. And it's relative to who else is on the floor, right? And the Pelicans looked very athletic and spry, but they just looked old up and down the court. And you just, it's funny. The missing piece is Ariza and Mahamute, man. They were like the glue, the toughness. And Tucker looked heavy. I know it's the beginning of the year, but what I thought about with the Pelicans was, Julia, I've been Team Randall. I've been on Julius Randle's team this whole time, even with the Lakers, and he looked really nice, right? Mirotic went off. What do you have? 29 points. He couldn't miss. But, excuse me. The thing with Anthony Davis was I kind of feel like, you remember the movie 300 with Leonidas, and you're like, oh my God, he's a savage, and he's fighting off all the warriors or whatever, and he's kicking him. He's on that scene on the beach, right, in that movie, and you're like, he's amazing, he's a savage, but it's just not sustainable. It's just not sustainable. And that's kind of how I feel with AD. Is he looked tremendous, a monster. I don't know if he got the triple-double. He was nearing the triple-double, but it was like you can't ask him to do this for 82 games and into the playoffs. He's not getting enough easy baskets. They're switching, they're beating guys up down low, but we just know he's not built like that for the long haul. So as impressive as the Pelicans looked, I think they got to find a way to rely on AD less and get him easier baskets, because I don't think it's sustainable, right? Now, the final game that I was really excited for was this Suns-Mavericks game, the second game on ESPN. Luka Doncic versus DeAndre Ayton. Devin Booker's surprise return for the opener. And I like Ayton, man. I like both these rookies. And it was interesting to see. Now, who the Suns, this dude Igor, I can't say his last name, this 18 years as an assistant coach in the NBA, now the Suns coach. And he looks like a disciplinarian, man. He looks like Despicable Me on a South Beach diet, man. But I like him. I think the Suns noticeably have a system. They have direction and more discipline. You can already tell they're being held more accountable. And I start to look at this Suns roster, and I'm like, damn, man, they're kind of deep. Like, you've got TJ Warren and Josh Jackson coming off the bench. Now, he started the vets in Ariza and Ryan Anderson. I kind of like the mix, man. And Booker went off. Ayton, he's a willing screener. And then you saw the mid-range. He likes to face up and hit the mid-range. And he was doing his thing. Now, the one thing I will say is you got Isaiah Cannon at point guard, and they were experimenting with Josh Jackson initiating a lot of the offense. But he was getting like disrespectfully gapped. He was getting gapped by like 10 feet. And he's not a natural ball handler. I feel more comfortable with the ball in Booker's hands as far as keeping control of the possession. The only thing is Booker's going to do one thing with the ball, and he's going to put it up at the rim, right? But Ayton ran the floor. He did everything well, but he wasn't really getting rewarded for running the floor. He would run the floor, and he just wasn't getting – you have to feed the big man when he runs the floor. But, hey, it's game one. I liked what I saw from the Suns roster. Ariza hit like 5 threes. Ariza has a masterful old man's game right now. If you watch Ariza, everything's in slow motion, and he's just playing at his own speed. And the Rockets look like they missed him. They turned that game on like, damn, I miss you, Trev. I miss you, Trev. But Dallas, no Harrison Barnes, no Dirk Nowitzki. Doncic and Dennis Smith Jr. in the backcourt. Now, Dennis Smith Jr. Doncic already is the better pick and roll guard as far as Dennis Smith and Doncic go, because he just plays with better pace. He waits for the screen action. He waits for the defense to react. Dennis Smith Jr. is just going 100 miles per hour still a lot of the time. And if you watch, the flaw in Smith Jr.'s jumper is he gets way out over his toes. He's so fast. He doesn't get upright and balance when he comes to pull up a lot of the time. But the thing that I noticed with Doncic, and to be fair, he was going up against Ariza, Josh Jackson Jr. There's some good wing defenders that he was going up against, but he's not able to get a full step on you. He kind of gets like a half step, and that's why he's always looking for the step back. He'll get like a half step, or he'll get even with his defender, and then he's looking for the step back. And the defender started to pick up on it right away, and so he didn't get a lot of open looks. You see the court sense, you see the passing, the vision, and he's got good size and a good handle, good shot. But as far as him creating separation himself, that step back, he's going to have a counter to it, because everybody's sitting on his step back, and he didn't have a lot of open looks. But again, it's game one, and the Suns looked impressive. Suns fans out here, you got to be excited about this. But anyway, this is going to be a wrap up for this first NBA Alchemy of the season. Hit the like, hit the share, subscribe, notification bell, all that stuff. You know your boy's going to be back. I'm out, y'all.
I've been winning so long, it's like alchemy.